It's Monday, December 25th, 2023, and this is episode 298 of You Can Bet on That. Hi, everybody. Welcome to You Can Bet on That, a podcast for the recreational gambler. I'm Mark Duvall.
And I'm Dr. Mike.
Merry Christmas, Dr. Mike.
Yeah, same to you. It's right around the corner here, isn't it, Mark?
Yeah, well, we're going to be dropping this episode on Christmas Day, so if you're listening to this as soon as we drop the episode, Merry Christmas. Mike, you got a white Christmas going your way?
No snow here.
Oh, okay.
Yep, we had one little snow. It stuck for about a day, and that was it.
All right, well, it makes it a little bit easier to get around. Go to your mother-in-law's house, right? Stuff like that, or is she coming to your house, or whatever your plans are?
Tomorrow she's coming to our house, and the next day we're going to hers. So.
All right, excellent.
There you go.
Well, again, Merry Christmas to everybody, and let's get on with the show. So, Mike, I got a ton of fantastic free play from Harrah's, Southern California in September and October.
Right.
Where did this come from? Like August, it was nothing. I'd get like $20 a day, but I'd have to drive up there. It'd take me an hour to get up there. And then suddenly in September and October, they were throwing tons of money my way to the point where I went virtually every day to get free play money. Right. And I knew about it because they sent these little mailers. They're like these little pamphlets that, you kind of open up and it shows how much free play you got. You still get those, don't you? Every once in a while from them?
Yeah, not every month.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. Not every month. But I did get it for September and October and went up there. And then I stopped going because, we were doing the move and everything was taking so much time. And I did not get little pamphlets for November or December. So I said to Sherry, let's head on up to Harrah's so I can see what my free play is currently, because I wasn't getting any indication. And you can't tell online. It just says, go to the property to find out or whatever. So we drove up there and I slid my card through. And it said that I had to earn 150 tier credits before I'd qualify for whatever the free play is. So,
which is quite a bit.
That is a lot. That's like running $1,500 through a video poker machine.
Right.
So, and, if I were to do that, who knows? It didn't say how much I was getting in free play. That was the other thing. It just said, you have to earn this. And I suppose if I had gone up to the Caesar's reward counter, they could have told me. But I was still thinking, $1,500 through video poker, I could lose more than I'm getting in free play.
Sure.
If I do that. Certainly the values that I've gotten in the past. So I turned to Sherry and said, well, sorry, this is a wasted trip. I had plenty of reward credits still, so we got some dinner and, wasn't a completely wasted trip. But it seems like maybe they caught on. I know that I was not the only one doing this during those 2 months, right? I know a lot of people probably were. And again, I couldn't believe how generous they were being. So now maybe they finally decided, okay, we need to make sure that they're coming up to play. And not just a little bit. Sometimes we've gone up there and it says earn 5 tier credits to get your reward. Well, that's no big deal, 5 tier credits. Right?
Yeah, right.
But, 150, okay, that's somebody who's going to have to play for a little while. And so I'm surprised it took them this long to kind of come up with that, if that is what they've done. I assume it doesn't just apply to me, that it's applied to a lot of other players too, because there were not many people when we went up on a Wednesday. There were not many people there running their cards through the kiosks there. A lot of times, you have to wait in line just to run your card. And, nobody was doing it. So maybe it's a new policy, and it makes sense from their standpoint. They were certainly giving a lot to me, and I assume to other players as well. But there you go.
Yeah, well, they probably had a meeting and said, hey, this didn't work out so well. And your name came up.
That's
and
right.
they, let's take this Mark Duvall, for instance. He came and ran his card through. It didn't play. And, he got all this winnings from free play, and that's just not going to work. And they've been cussing you out ever since.
And as I continue to go up there and get the free play, I thought, I'm probably burning bridges here, or they're going to see what I'm doing. And maybe they'll single me out and I won't qualify for this in the future. But I didn't care at that point because they were giving me so much. And I go up there so much more infrequently now that you're not here, that I said, I'm just going to milk it for all it's worth, and then that'll do it.
They do these things. I mean, what do they think people are going to do?
I guess they think that people are going to come and play and not just get their free play, which is what I did every time. I mean, there were some times when I'd play, but usually I'd go up there, run my free play through the video poker, maybe get a sandwich, and then drive home. So
Right. It's a weird dynamic because, first of all, you have to figure out how much do I have to give this person to get them to come here? Because like in your case, if it's too little, I mean, you're not driving all the way up there. So how far away you are from the casino.
Yeah, right.
And then frequency of your visits, well, do they visit a lot, or that has to be taken into consideration. And then it's like, well, what kind of player is this guy? Are they the kind that just can't resist? They're going to take it and just, try and turn their, say, $50 free play into 1,000 or something, or bust and go home. Or are they the kind of person who just come and get their $50 and leave?
Yeah, maybe they were just trying something for September and October, because again, August, it wasn't worth it for me to go up even once.
Right.
But then September was worth it for me every day. Maybe they were just experimenting and seeing what happens, but
probably. Or it could just be they're going out of business and they said, God, maybe if we get Mark here, when entice him with this, he'll get it, he'll play, then he'll be mad he lost and he'll pull out another 1,000. And that really will save our casino.
Yeah, maybe. The 6-5 blackjack just isn't doing it for us.
No. Yeah.
All right. Well,
they have to go to a 000 and then a 40, and then they're going to have 4 zeros and a diamond.
It's half the wheel's going to be zeros. That's what it's going to be. It's just, it happens 50% of the time, but the other 50%, you've got a 50% chance of winning. What?
Right. 50-50. That's pretty good.
All right. We've beaten that to death. So we got an email from Mississippi Rob. Everybody knows great Mississippi Rob. He plans the Biloxi trips every year. But he was asking about betting the pass line versus placing the point. And he actually asked me to run some simulations, because I've talked about how I use win craps to run simulations on craps. He was trying to lower his variance and his risk of ruin. And he asked me, can you compare betting $10 on the pass line and taking $10 odds versus just placing the point for $20? So again, in both cases, you'd have $20 at risk, but am I kind of reducing my variance if instead of going on the pass line and then taking 10 odds, I make a $20 place bet or a $20 buy bet if the point is 4 or 10? And we think about it, it's like, okay, yeah, because if he makes that $20 place bet, he's getting paid better than even money on that full $20. Whereas with just the pass line, you're only getting paid better than even money on the odds. Yes, the odds are a little bit better than a place bet, but the base bet on the pass line is only getting paid at even money.
Right.
So, when I saw that, I thought, yeah, I'll run that simulation. I'm thinking to myself, okay, I certainly know the math. We've talked about what's better, pass line, come bets, place bets. We're not going to say what's better, because what does better mean? But we can say that mathematically, making a pass line bet or a come bet is better than making a place bet. So I ran these simulations. And it really wasn't even close. I sent you a copy of the email I sent Mississippi Rob, Mike. I don't think you've had a chance to look at it. But he basically asked me, run a simulation on like a $200 bankroll, $300 bankroll, $500 bankroll. And in most cases, way more than, say, 75% of the cases, the person betting the place bets would lose their bankroll much sooner than the person doing the pass line with odds. And you know what it comes down to? It's that winning 7-11. It's the winning 7-11 on the come out roll. You cannot ignore that. That is huge.
I knew where that was going before you even said it's going to, of course it's going to be, because you know how you get those rolls where some guy rolls 3 7s on the come out, or rolls in a 7 and an 11 and a couple more, 7s. Well, if you're just sitting there watching that, that's $40 out of your 200 bankroll that you lost out on, right?
Right. And you could say, okay, well, what about when craps rolls? Yes, 2, 3, 12, that's a loser, but there are only 4 ways to roll that, and there are 8 ways to roll a 7 or an 11.
Right.
And it really is a significant difference.
Especially over time. I mean, of course, and if you're going to be there 10 minutes, of course, anything could happen, but
anything can happen. And in some of my simulations, the place better did do better just
Right,
because that's the
right.
way the rolls went, right?
Right,
But
right. And it went
so
favorably for
yep,
them.
yeah.
Well, one of the things I like to do sometimes, I do not make a pass line bet and just place the point, place all the numbers after the point's established. And one of the reasons I do that, well, I guess the only reason is you get better rating.
You definitely get a better rating. And I'll say this, and this is just due to the illness that you have, you cannot not take full odds.
No.
So if you're like at a 20 times odds table and the minimum is $25, you are compelled to take that $500 odds bet. Whereas if you make the place bet, just $60, that's fine.
Yeah. Well, for me, it does two things. It gets me a better rating and it slows down my aggressiveness. Yeah.
There you go. But again, we're talking in Rob's example, we're talking about the same amount of money in both cases, right? 20 versus 20. So, yeah.
Right. Well, it all boils down to like everything in life, Mark. It's a crapshoot.
Exactly. It's a crapshoot. How do you enjoy playing? That's what we always say. And I enjoy playing in a way that makes my money last longer. And, pass line and come bets, that is kind of the way to go. Thank you, Jack. You're on Team Jack if you're betting that way. And I'm certainly that way. I hope Chris and Josh are listening.
It does make it last longer. But, you get a little thrill, a little more of a thrill when you're up there on the...
Absolutely. I love watching you win at the table, Dr. Mike.
Yeah. And it's almost as much fun as when I lose.
Yeah. Almost. Not quite, but almost as fun. Yeah.
Almost as fun.
I can't tell you how many times, folks, Mike has looked over at me and, how are you up? I'm down like, 2 buy-ins.
Yeah. And then I chastise him for being up.
Yeah, that's right.
What the hell are you doing?
You don't play craps right. You shouldn't be up that much.
Oh, I'm always looking here thinking, when is he going to press? And you just keep collecting and you win. And it's like my wife. Every time she goes with me, she get 2 numbers. She takes a point and place one number, the 6 or 8 or whatever. Inevitably at the end, she's up $200, $300 or something. I'm down 2,000 or 3,000.
Yeah, but Mike, she'll never be up, say, 10,000, right?
No.
Okay,
no.
So there you go.
Yeah,
all right. I don't know when you and I
never be up 40,000 either.
Yeah, I don't know when you and I are going to be playing craps again. It's up to you. Start making plans. Blah blah blah.
Yeah,
every week
I know. It's just so much going on.
I understand.
I'm being beat up by a bunch of high schoolers, Mark.
I understand. I understand. Physically,
emotionally, anyway.
Oh, okay.
A little physically.
That can be worse. A little physically. Hey. Thanks to everyone who's been clicking through our Amazon link. Remember, whenever you're going to buy something through Amazon, please go to our page first. You can bet on that.com and click through our Amazon link towards the top of the page. Let's move on to some voicemails. First up is Daniel.
Hey, Mark and Dr. Mike. This is Daniel from Nashville. I was just calling with a trip report to Las Vegas. Turns out I was there the same weekend you were. I flew in on Sunday the 3rd and flew out on the 6th. Didn't know you were there, or I would have loved to meet up with you. But glad to hear that your gambling went well. It also went well for me. I started my trip just like I do every trip. As soon as I land, I always go straight to Frankie's Tiki Room for some strong rum drinks and some video poker. I'll tell you, there's nothing like being at Frankie's at 10 a.m. Also, shout out to the bartenders there, Olana and Tanya. They are the best in Las Vegas. Highly recommend. My games are typically craps and video poker, and for the first day and a half, I couldn't win anything. It was terrible. I lost about half my bankroll. But then the tides turned, and I hit my first 4 of a kind of the trip, which was great. Got me back up, and then about an hour later, I put $20 into a random slot machine. I don't typically play slots, but I put $20 in the slot machine and cashed out for $8.50. So things started to turn around. But then the highlight, I was meeting a buddy of mine that evening on the 4th at the Bacchanal Buffet at Caesars, and was sitting at that bar. There's I don't remember the name of it, but it's a round bar right outside of Bacchanal across from that Giada's pastry place. And I hit my first royal flush on video poker. I was playing single hand, double quarters. And I didn't just hit a royal flush, I got dealt a royal flush. And I couldn't believe it. I was in shock. So that right there got me back up for the trip. And then went on to have a great meal at the Bacchanal Buffet. And then the next day, I walked in the morning down to Cromwell, sat at the video poker bar there. and I hit another royal flush. I've been gambling probably 10 years, never hit a royal flush. I just hit 2 of them on the same trip. And it just stayed the same. I think I counted total. I hit 9 4-of-a-kinds. I got those 2 royal flushes. I played craps at Ellis and won another like $600. So it was just a phenomenal trip all around. I went out to Santa Fe Station and hung out downtown. I went to my favorite breakfast place and coffee shop in Vegas called Publicus. It's downtown on the corner of Fremont and Maryland, close to Atomic Liquors. Highly recommend. Amazing place, great staff, great food. But yeah, just had a phenomenal trip. It was super fun. Had been there in about 6 or 7 months. Best gambling trip I've ever had in Vegas. I came back home having completely covered all the expenses on my trip and then a good chunk of change and profit from it. So it was wonderful. So thank you guys. Love the show. Hope to be back soon sometime around. Talk to you later.
All right. Thanks, Daniel. The breakfast place he's talking about, it's kind of a weird name. It's Public Us. So public and then US with the U capitalized. First royal followed almost immediately by a second. That probably will happen to us. If either one of us eventually hits a royal, we'll probably hit the second one within a day.
You're saying it's like the fire bet.
Yeah.
We went all that time. We couldn't hit them all. And then we hit one. And then wasn't too long. We hit another one.
Yeah. Yeah. It seems like the longest period of time was before the first one.
Yeah, I think you're delusional.
Okay, yeah, because just the fact that I'm saying when we hit our first royal, right then, I lost you.
It's never happening. You're going to have to start editing these voicemails so that there's nothing about hitting royals in there.
That's right. Every time somebody calls,
I told them this story how I hit 5 royals in one night.
Right. It was like a 2-minute phone call. I was only on there for 10 seconds. Yeah, this is Joe from Orlando. Great show. Talk to you later.
Yeah, right.
I need to go to one of these tiki rooms. The problem is I usually go to Vegas with you, and why would we spend time in a tiki room? But rum is like my liquor. I'm not a big drinker anyway, but if I had to pick one.
Yeah, you like rum. Your rum.
I'm like that. And sweet little Hawaiian drinks, Mai Tai, things like that.
Yeah, and they're fancy and they're pretty.
Yeah, they get an umbrella. All right. Next up is Dr. Mike.
Hey, Mark and Dr. Mike. This is very long-time listener, first-time caller, East Coast Dr. Mike, and I'm calling in a trip report from the Hard Rock in Tampa. As you know, they just opened up table games, so I was able to play some craps and roulette down there. Just a little bit about the setup. They had about 8 roulette tables and only 3 craps tables. The craps was $25 minimum everywhere. This was on a Tuesday night at about 6 p.m., and from what I understand, talking to the dealers, that's going to be the lowest the minimums will be. It sounds like they're trying to attract maybe a more prestigious or higher limit player, and that's why they didn't want to go down on the minimums. I bought in for $500 and cashed out with about $50. I probably would have brought more if I knew the minimums would be so high. But the interesting thing is when I went to the table, I noticed most people are not playing the pass line. The table I went up to was a rowdy table. It seemed fun, but there was only 2 people playing the pass line, and there was about 8 people on the outside. Most were just placing numbers or field bets. It seemed like most people playing were pretty inexperienced as well as the dealers. They were messing out basic payouts, like they would only pay single payout to a 2 on the field instead of paying double, made mistakes like that. I did play some roulette. The interesting thing there was they had $5 minimum per chip, so you basically had to play $25 for 5 numbers, $5 minimum. I didn't play too much roulette. I hit 1 number and then cashed out. Luckily, made all my money back playing Mississippi Stud. Mark, I don't know, you're not the hugest fan of that game, but it's one of my favorite games when I got a couple bucks just to play, and ended up hitting 3 of a kind on my very first hand, 3 kings, and made a nice little cash out, made all my money back and more, and decided to cash out there and go home. So anyway, guys, take care. Love watching the show or listening to the show, and hope to see you guys in a future trip.
All right. Thanks, Dr. Mike.
All right.
Did I say that I didn't care for Mississippi Stud? If I ever did say that, my opinion has definitely changed. When I went to Biloxi, not this year, but the previous year, I spent several hours by myself. Well, I mean, not with our group. It was a full table, just I wasn't with anybody that I knew, playing Mississippi Stud. It's one of my favorite, well, certainly one of my favorite carnival games.
I'm laughing because you're by myself, and then you're trying to explain what by myself meant.
Well, I mean,
Because
usually
we all thought you were in the room, just all by yourself.
just dealing it to myself.
Yeah, sitting in the shower on the
Winner!
floor, dealing
Yay!
yourself.
I just meant not with anybody I knew, because usually I gamble with people I know.
I like, though, that he used a sentence that's never been used ever in the history of man.
Oh, yeah?
Fortunately, I was able to win all my money back at Mississippi Stud.
That's a first, yeah. I'll give you that.
That's a first.
Well, thank you for the report on Florida craps and roulette now that they have it, and it's spreading even more to some of those other Seminole casinos.
It might be, too, that a lot of people, are just going there to check it out.
Yeah, I'm thinking that the minimums might eventually come down and the style of play will evolve. Yeah, it's so early right
they'll
now.
get players who actually know how to play, and it'll change,
I agree. All right, last call.
Hi, Mark and Dr. Mike. This is Nick in Kalamazoo with a Biloxi trip report. My wife and I went on a junket over Thanksgiving. So we actually left South Bend, Indiana, Thanksgiving Day. Super small airport, nobody there. There's like 9 gates or something. So you can go from car to gate in 20, 25 minutes. But obviously not many people there for Thanksgiving. For those of you who have never been on a junket, it's usually a chartered aircraft, and usually for MGM, it's Sun Country. There's no tablets in front of you. It's not luxurious. They hand you like a bag of pretzels when you get on, and that's your snack. And they'll come through once with, Coke, Diet Coke, Sprite, etc. Not a whole lot of options, but they fly you there. You get there. We had a room at the Beau. Nice time to be there. We always get the trolley hopper that goes around to all the casinos and get a 2 or 3 day pass, however long we're going to be there. We had the buffet at the Palace, which again is the best buffet. But on Thanksgiving, I think we waited 2.5 hours because there's not a whole lot to eat on Thanksgiving, and we had to eat, right? Played a whole bunch of Pai Gow on this trip. A couple days at the Palace, we sat there 2, 3, 4 hours just sitting playing Pai Gow and winning a little, losing a little, having a couple drinks, having a great time. We were also there during the game, Michigan, Ohio State, living here in Michigan, my wife going to Michigan State, going across the river from Ohio, despise Ohio State. So we got up early and got down to the sports bar to watch the game. I think we were there an hour or something early, sat there to play video poker and had some food. They were charging for many of the tables, especially if you were just coming to eat and not gambling. But it was a ruckus crowd, people cheering on both sides. A lot of fun to watch the game. It was great that it was close, and we got to deal with all that. I don't have any amazing crap stories. I did play quite a bit, but there wasn't a whole lot to talk about. But there was one instance, and it was the last night at the Beau Rivage, trying to play before we have to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and fly back to Kalamazoo. Get up to the table, look at everybody, and everybody is like, it's been rough. Like, it's a cold table. We're lucky if anyone hits a point. So I'm just place betting, losing some money. Yeah, maybe I should get going. And then I was like, oh, I'll play one more shooter. This guy hasn't shot yet. And then this guy from another table walks up beside me, asks how it's been, and I just didn't say anything. I never know what to say. And this guy starts to shoot, and I'm just playing my place bets, and he takes $27 and puts it on the 6. That's all the money he had left. And this guy starts to go on a roll. He's hitting a couple points. He's pounding the 8, and I'm going slow press, right? 1 slot every press. I mean, we're making money. My 8 by the end of the roll was at 210, which I never really get that high. I'm collecting black chips. And then he finally sevens out. I think he hit 4 or 5 points. He hit at least some of the all or tall. I don't think he hit the whole thing. I know he didn't hit the whole thing because we all looked over and looked at the guy who placed the 6. And he's like, I didn't make any money. We're all like, wait a second. Did he roll that whole time 4 or 5 points and never hit a 6? And by golly, he did not. Never hit the 6. So they did not get the all. And they definitely didn't get the small. And we were just looking at each other like, how is that possible? I mean, he must have rolled 30, 35 minutes, something good enough that we were pressing. And I made $1,200 on the roll or something like that. And the guy beside me who had $27 and places a 6 just kind of was like, I lost $27 in that roll. It was shocking. I felt bad for the guy. But it was just one of those weird rolls, man. You don't see it. The other thing is that at the Beau has a pretty good poker room. But I will say it really depends on the table you're sitting at. I sat down at a table early on. Everyone has stacks, $700, $800. And before the flop, we're seeing like $50 bets. And I'm like, oh, I just want to sit. I want to BS. I want to play with a couple $100, play a few hands, throw some money in the middle. And if I make something, great. And if not, it was good entertainment, right? A lot cheaper than a craps table. But man, even with like pocket tens of like $50, that's a quarter of my stack. Am I really to risk that before I see a flop? It was aggressive. And then moving to another table where it was less aggressive and got to play and made a couple big hands. Really testing the limits of my poker. I'm a casual player. I just wanted to have fun. So anyway, if you're going, there is a decent poker room at Beau Rivage. They have tournaments on the weekends. I think they have turbo tournaments. Just lots of stuff to do. Anyway, all in all, it was a good trip. Wife hit a decent jackpot. It was like $11.50, so no taxes that last day. Still down overall, but had a great time. Love going to Biloxi. Hopefully you guys get a chance to get out again. Thank you for listening to my rambling. I really appreciate the show. We're heading out to Detroit next weekend to go see a show over in Canada. So we'll be there for a couple days, and I'll call back in. Thanks, guys. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
All right, Nick. Well, thank you, and good luck on that trip. Mike, I'm trying to think back. The only junket that I've ever been on is that junket that you and I took to Elko. Am I forgetting another one, or have you ever been on a junket that I wasn't on?
No, I think that was the one time we did it.
Yeah.
And, well, I think the problem with that junket for both of us was it was pretty short. It was just like overnight.
Well, it was short, and there was just that, what was it? It was like a Red Lion Inn casino or something, right?
Yeah, it was like a
casino,
motel with a little casino room. And I think maybe, was there like one craps table, right?
Yes.
And that's all we had to play there the whole time.
Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of glad we did. I still get offers for junkets to Laughlin and to Reno from Caesars. I'm not really on MGM's radar. Do you get any offers for junkets where you live now?
I've gotten several offers from Caesars to go to Laughlin.
Oh, you get Laughlin ones too.
Yeah, and that's about all I've gotten. But they seem to come fairly frequently, Laughlin ones.
You know, if you get a Laughlin junket and you ever want to take advantage of it, it probably wouldn't coincide with the same time that my junkets are offered. Right, it's usually different airports, but if you ever come out, I'll meet you there. I'll drive over there, see you.
We haven't been to Laughlin in a long
time, Mike. And I know you and I would love it because it's just gamble, gamble, gamble.
Yeah, and I fit right in now with all those old folks.
That's right.
I sure hope that hard eight comes up. I got to go change my dialysis bag.
Oh God! See, I'm waiting for you to make plans, Mike. I had to go to Vegas on my own.
Yeah,
right? This last time with my poker buddies because I just got sick and tired of waiting for you to make plans.
I know. Believe me, I think about that every day.
Well, have you been out to gamble at all since our last episode? Yeah.
No, I have not. I don't have much time.
Yeah.
I'm working, and then I'm running the scoreboard and everything for the basketball games, boys and girls, JV, varsity, sometimes even the ninth graders. And it just takes up all my time.
Yeah.
It's just crazy how much effort I'm putting into this and not into craps.
Yeah.
Yeah. People probably think I've died. I mean, I'm sure over at Diamond Joe, they think he was pretty old.
Yeah. And our listeners are probably pretty disappointed in you too. It's like, Dr. Mike, in his heyday, he was something. He's not the man he used to be.
In 2024, things may change.
All right, let's hope so. Well, short episode this time, mainly because, again, a lot of stuff going on with the holidays. We're busy, both Dr. Mike and I, and we're not getting as much feedback from listeners because I know you're all busy during this time of year.
Yep, everyone's busy this time of year.
So hopefully by our next episode, Mike, you will have gone to Diamond Joe Worth, half a dozen times, and maybe I'll try going out to some of the casinos. Oh, we usually take my mom to the casino between Christmas and New Year's. I'll have to ask my sisters about that because this is the first time even thinking about it. So she's probably want to go. So I may have a report for you next time. No guarantees. It'll depend on, her situation, but
how she's feeling. Well, I hope she gets to go.
I do too.
Great. Yeah.
All right. Well, we want to thank some people for some donations. Mike, did you get this donation from Trevor for your shoe drive?
Yes. Yeah. Yes. And I was going to send him a personal email when I finally get around to it, but that was awesome. Trevor.
Yeah, it was a very generous donation. So thank you.
You are the man. You are the man. And believe me, it was put to very, very good use.
Yeah, that's great. Oh, we want to thank some people for some recurring donations to the show. Nathan, Brian Dancer, Brian and Sarah, Josh, and those guys over at Crap Vegas. Thank you very much for those.
Speaking of Crap Vegas,
yeah,
they had a little contest, and I guess the person who won, his name was Andrew, he donated the money to the school here.
Oh, is that right? Oh, I didn't know that.
Uh-huh.
Oh, that's great.
Yep.
Oh,
Chris had sent me a message and said, hey, he wanted to, just so Chris just Venmo'd us, and we put that money to good use too.
Oh my gosh,
that was awesome.
That is so great. Well, thank you, Andrew, and thank you, Chris and Josh, for that. That's tremendous.
Those guys are great.
Yeah, they really are.
Honestly, they do so much. It's unbelievable.
We also got a donation from listener Scott. He said a Lake Charles trip coming up. Didn't say exactly when, so hopefully good luck on that, or hopefully you did have good luck. We also got a donation from Kyle. Karma donation for a trip with my wife to Vegas in January. We'll be staying in Paris for 3 days and are looking forward to playing craps, poker, and going to see Absinthe for the first time. Oh, we'll have a great trip. We have not seen Absinthe. It gets universally great scores from people who go to see it. They say, as long as you're not easily offended, you're going to love that show. So again, good luck on your trip, Kyle. And finally, a donation from our good friend Kevin. Your 2024 Craps Starter Kit. Thanks for the great content. Oh, well, thank you for that, Kevin. We're
Kevin's
ready.
Probably wondering, where is Dr. Mike?
Yeah, that's right. He's he's thinking,
what happened to him?
This is going to get him to come out finally.
Yeah, and it will.
No. Hey, at the top of our webpage, you'll find a link to our store where you can buy You Can Bet on That t-shirts. Also, you can find a list of all the gambling-related shows coming up on American television at youcanbetonthat.com/TV-listings. Let me just pause here for a second to say the website that I used to get the famous raw American TV data, the lineup kind of changed and it threw off my self-written script that runs through all that data. And so I haven't updated the page recently, and I'm having to kind of redo how I do things. So if you see some dormant TV listings there for a while, that's why. Don't worry, I'll get back on it as soon as I have some time. And we've got a list of gambling-related movies at youcanbetonthat.com/movies. We'd love to hear from you. Call our voicemail hotline at 951-292-4377. That's 9512-WAGERS.
9512-WAGERS.
Or you can email us at youcanbetonThat@gmail.com. We're also on Twitter at YouCanBetOnThat and on Facebook at Facebook.com/YouCanBetOnThat. Mike, what do you got for us here on this wonderful Christmas?
I would like to say, Mark, that I hope everybody has a wonderful Christmas or whatever holiday they're celebrating. I hope they're all having fun and healthy and they're happy and they're enjoying their families. And I was thinking earlier today, wouldn't it be great if humans were like dogs?
All right. I keep going.
Well, it just personality-wise, my 2 dogs.
Yeah.
Every time somebody comes home, they're so excited.
Yeah.
They run around and they jump on you and they're just happy. And I come downstairs here to do the podcast, right? They're both sitting here right on the edge of the steps, staring at me like, oh, I hope he finishes soon. Let's go back upstairs. And when I sit down, I'm watching football. They're both cuddling me. They're just full of love.
Yeah, I mean, you and I are both dog people for sure.
Yeah.
We love our dogs.
I mean, I know there's some dogs that can be mean or whatever, but most dogs
whine.
are just full of love. People
some dogs whine.
Like that.
Just, pay attention to me.
They whine. Ours
somebody's at the door.
Ours aren't too bad about that. And our one dog, our youngest, Stag, he's a little goofy, but he is so loving. And the thing about him I love the most, and just think about this on Christmas, every time he goes out, it doesn't matter if it's 60 or minus 20 outside. He runs out, he goes through this whole routine, does his business, he runs back to the door and, looks at me like, okay, open the door, open the door. I open the door and he runs through the house full speed.
Yeah.
Circles around the dining room, the kitchen, and the living room. Just this big circle, full speed, and then goes over to the couch and collapses.
So glad to be back inside.
Yeah, so glad. Everything's a joy to him, and that's the way it should be with people.
All right, folks, try to be more like dogs.
More like dogs. Just enjoy every moment that you're given.
All right. Thanks, everybody. We will talk to you next year.
Have great holidays.
Okay, let's thin this herd. Untucked shirt, no thank you. Born in San Diego, yikes. An adult named Todd? So this is what online dating is like?